Am I the a-hole for thinking my husband's coworker was being inappropriate? I've been married to my husband for 12 years, and about a year ago, he hired a woman in her mid-20s to work under him. He was her supervisor. Right away, I noticed he talked about her a lot. I figured maybe he had a harmless little crush. She was one of the few younger women at his workplace, and I didn't think much of it. Then things started getting strange. He kept coming home with homemade cupcakes, cakes, breads, and other baked goods, all made specifically for him. Not for the office, just for him. I thought maybe she was just trying to stay on good terms with her boss. Then it escalated. He bought her a birthday present and took her out to lunch. A couple of weeks later, she bought him clothes for no special occasion. That made me stop and think. Then my husband got called into his boss's office because rumors were spreading that the two of them were having an affair. What shocked me wasn't the rumors. It was that my husband acted like none of this was unusual. He honestly didn't seem to understand why buying each other gifts, going to lunch alone, and constantly exchanging personal favors might look inappropriate. I asked him to stop accepting gifts. He agreed. A few days later, he walked through the door carrying more homemade bread from her. Then she started buying presents for our children. At that point, I honestly didn't know if I was overreacting or if everyone else was seeing what I was seeing. So tell me, was I the a-hole? Update. 6 weeks later. There's one detail I left out before. I was pregnant, not just pregnant. I was due any day. A few days after making my post, I searched through my husband's laptop bag. Inside were items that made it obvious he was having an affair. I confronted him immediately. He admitted they'd been together for about 2 months. I kicked him out. A few days later, we sat down and talked for nearly half a day. It was one of the hardest conversations either of us had ever had. We admitted our marriage had been falling apart long before the affair. We had stopped communicating. He buried himself in video games. I became a full-time parent. Neither of us felt appreciated. Neither of us felt like a priority. We'd become roommates instead of partners. The affair wasn't the cause of our problems, but it was the event that forced us to face them. After a lot of discussion, he moved back home. Our baby was born healthy. We started marriage counseling. We promised complete honesty. He helped more around the house. He became more involved with the kids. We made each other our priority again instead of work or hobbies. I still didn't trust him, but he was trying to earn that trust back. As for the other woman, I contacted her to explain how much damage she'd caused to my family. She accepted no responsibility and blamed my husband entirely. She and my husband blocked each other. He agreed they would only communicate if absolutely necessary for work. If she stayed at the company, he planned to leave. Things weren't perfect, but we were trying. Make sure you follow for more videos posted daily. Update, 1 month later, a lot happened. When my husband returned to work after paternity leave, he voluntarily showed me every text and work message involving her. Going back to work near her was emotionally difficult, so he began searching for another job. I even started stopping by his office for lunch, just so we could spend time together. Then something unexpected happened. The day after Christmas, he was laid off. He'd already been showing me messages from her, and they weren't stopping. She kept telling him to leave me and the kids because she thought she was better for him. She even promised she'd cook him dinner, wearing nothing but an apron and high heels. When he lost his job, she told him she'd be waiting for him because his new life was going to fail. Instead, he told her they would never speak again. When he returned to the office one last time to drop off company materials, I went with him. Standing in front of HR and management, he confessed to the affair. His employment officially changed to terminated because he'd violated the company's policy regarding supervisor relationships. She kept her job. He didn't. We kept going to counseling. We read books together about emotional boundaries. We created rules for our marriage. No private lunches with someone of the opposite sex. No sharing relationship problems with someone outside the marriage before talking to each other. We also spent intentional time together every morning and every evening rebuilding our connection. Eventually, he confessed every detail of the affair, including something I never expected. The night I threw him out, The other woman showed up at his motel carrying her entire wardrobe and toiletries because she fully expected to move in with him. She believed she was going to replace me. He also admitted she'd manipulated him throughout the relationship. He returned every gift she'd ever given him. She eventually stopped contacting him after he blocked her number. Things seemed to be improving, or so I thought. Relevant comments. One commenter asked why my husband lost his job while she kept hers. I explained that because he was her supervisor, the company viewed him as the one responsible for violating workplace policies, even though the relationship had been consensual. Another commenter pointed out that her behavior also sounded inappropriate. I agreed, but the company likely wanted to avoid any legal risk. Final update. 7 months later, about 9 months after discovering the affair, I asked my husband to move out. Despite months of counseling, despite all the work, I realized I wasn't going to recover from what happened. The affair itself wasn't the only issue anymore. I finally processed everything he'd done. He'd used our child as an excuse to keep seeing her. He'd introduced our son to someone he barely knew. He'd spoken badly about me while carrying on the affair. And once I asked him to leave, his behavior got even worse. He blamed me for not forgiving him. He tried manipulating me into changing my mind. He said our son would suffer because of my decision. Then one day, while I stepped out of the room for just a moment, he told our 4-year-old that Mommy wanted him to leave because she didn't like him anymore. Our son came to me crying, asking why I didn't love Daddy. I had to comfort him and explain that none of this was his fault, that both of us loved him, that he'd always have 2 parents. That was the moment I knew. I couldn't stay. I'm now renovating my home, seeing my own therapist, meeting with an attorney to arrange support and a parenting plan, and for the first time in months, I can finally breathe. In the comments, some people argued that my husband had done everything right after the affair. I responded that doing laundry, helping with the kids, and attending counseling doesn't erase betrayal. Trust takes years to build and only moments to destroy. Others said I invalidated all the work we put into repairing the marriage. I disagreed. Some people can eventually recover after an affair. I'm simply not one of them. I also later discovered he had been looking at escort websites, had created a Tinder account, and was obsessively viewing another woman's social media after promising he wouldn't contact her again. Looking back, I don't think our marriage failed because of the affair alone. It failed because we'd stopped communicating long before that. The affair was simply the final straw. So tell me, am I the a-hole?